Okay, so we've explored cultivating safety, and in this skill or pillar, we're exploring cultivating space. Now, what do we mean by that? So, the term space holder is really refers to the role that we take as practitioners and coaches and those of service to others to embody and to create a space, an energetic space or container for everything that's to come up within our sessions in a place that is, if we're looking at it from a compassion focused lens, a space that feels accepting, that feels safe, that feels non-judgmental, and one that feels like it can meet the client where they're at, which establishes feelings of empowerment, self-trust, trust in the other, and also allows them to deepen their sense of connection to themselves and the world around them. So, how do we create this feeling of non-judgmental space in the vessel of kind of what we're doing? How do we actually create that? And this is something to really think about when it comes to your work with somebody else. Some of you, once again, may already do this, but some of you may not even be considering this spaciousness, right, that we need to create, especially if we do have a part of us that has that fixer mindset, or a part of us that has like the perfectionistic tendencies of overthinking in a session. So, like, oh, what should I say next? How should I say it? The person looks distressed. How do I fix it? I want to like give them so much information and really like, overperform and make sure that they're really happy with our session. And when we're coming in with that energy, we're filling the space. We're not allowing there to be empty space that is really needed for the other person to fully experience themselves and come to what we hope that they will be able to find with us is their own innate self-trust in order to develop their own sense of self-actualization, for them to actually be able to make the changes that they seek to make in their lives to become the version of themselves that they want to become, right? So, how do we do this? How do we create spaciousness within our client sessions? Number one is through active listening. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times in previous videos, but active listening is a way of communicating, or it's a communication skill that many people don't focus on. And I would say it's the most important communication skill if you work in the space of helping other people, because we need to be able to be present and to be able to fully understand what is happening for the other person. If I'm constantly like worried about what I'm going to be saying next, or what's happening for me, or if I'm feeling triggered, or if I'm dysregulated, or if I'm stressed, or if I have a fixer mindset where I just want to give them advice and tell them how to fix everything, then what I'm not doing is actively listening. I'm listening with an intent to reply, or an intent to fix, or an intent to remedy, or to fill the space, right, with whatever is going on for me. Even energetically, I'm not allowing there to be the space that there needs. So, active listening is our ability to listen with the pure intention of understanding our clients. And this requires us to be fully present with what's happening for them. Now, I can tell you personally that I have worked with therapists and coaches who have been online, and I can tell that they're not present because they are looking in other places. They're obviously reading something else on their computer. They might be looking down at their phone, like taking notes is different, but I can tell when they're distracted or when they're not fully with me. How does that feel for me? Being on the receiving end is that I actually shut down. I start to think like, well, this person's not actually interested in what I have to say. And my feeling of safety within that experience is then compromised, which then leaves me not fully trusting what's happening and not fully being authentic and honest in what I'm sharing. So, active listening requires you to be present and to be not only listening to the words that are coming out of someone's mouth, but also reading in between the lines and being an expert at reading nonverbal language. So you want to be able to not only notice the story, but how is the person conveying the story? What's happening in their body language? How are they holding themselves? How are they sitting? What are they doing with their hands? Are they fidgeting? Where is their eye gaze? Are they kind of darting all over the place? Are they avoiding eye contact? Are they looking down? What's going on for them? What's their facial expressions telling you? How is the tone and the pitch and the frequency of their voice? And how does it change at different parts of the story, right? So when you can become really aware and you're actually properly listening, then you are starting to apply the skill of curiosity. You're really there and you're wanting to understand. I'm like, how do I better understand you? And I'm not going to be able to better understand you unless I'm fully present with the experience of what you're sharing. And so, if I'm working with a client who is, for example, fidgeting when they talk about something, I'll take a little mental note of that, that maybe that topic caused them to feel discomfort of some sort. Whether we explore that in that session or a later session is up to the way the session goes, but it's something that I will note down as the practitioner. I will become observant of and curious about, right? If a client is having an emotional reaction to something, that's an opportunity to kind of pause and inquire. Also like when you'll notice that maybe a client is talking about something that's quite traumatic or quite difficult, but they're smiling and laughing about it. And there's like this polarity between how they're saying it and the actual context of the story. That's also an opportunity to become a little bit more curious. Like, let me understand this a little bit more because you're sharing this story that is deeply moving or that, feels really sad and heavy. And also you're smiling about it like you're talking about somebody else's life. So what's happening for you right now? The more we can listen to understand and then apply curiosity, what we're doing is really fulfilling that role of being the guide, being able to be that mirror for our clients, to be another set of, eyes and ears to reflect back what we're witnessing so they can witness themselves. That's the whole point of this work that we do. So they can say, oh, yeah, you know what? That is something that I'm doing. And I think really what that implies, and they can be honest with themselves, is that I'm avoiding the feelings that come with it. Okay, cool. So let's look at that. Let's work with that, right? So active listening is really, really, really important. And if you have any of these kind of other qualities, which is nothing wrong or bad about you. I have perfectionistic tendencies, and it was really hard for me to be able to go from the fixer mindset into being more of a guide. But I noticed profound changes within my clients and transformation when I was able to step back from that role and truly create the space that they needed to experience themselves wholly and fully without judgment and with compassion, right? So active listening is really, really important. What comes with that is another what we would call micro skill when it comes to talk therapy or coaching and holding space is silence and pauses and the importance of both things, right? If I'm constantly filling the space or like peppering them with a million questions, or not allowing them space for contemplation or self-reflection, then there's no space. There's literally no space for them to once again come up with their own resolutions, their own ideas, their own sense of self-awareness, their own self-realizations. Like I'm not allowing spaciousness for that to happen. Don't be afraid of silence. If you're someone who has, your own kind of anxiety or once again, perfectionism, when there's silence, we can kind of start panicking ourselves as the coach, thinking like, quick, say something, But actually, the silence is so powerful because it gives both parties an opportunity to kind of like pause, reflect, and then come back in. And this might be that the client pauses and reflects and goes, you know what, actually, this is something else that I'm feeling. So it can deepen their own sense of introspection and give them an opportunity to just feel into what's happening. But also for the coach, for you, if you're feeling like the session is going in all different places, or you have a client that's telling lots of different stories and it's feeling very jumbled, silence allows you to connect with your intuition, to channel the question that you feel will be the most empowering in that moment, to get them on to track or to even say to them and to reflect back, what I'm noticing is that we've kind of covered 5 different things today, and I feel like we're not really focusing on any one thing. Let me reflect back to you what I've heard, and you can tell me which one feels most significant for you to explore in our session today. So that gives you a chance to pause, to step away from your own inner perfectionist, thinking that you need to have all the answers, and to reflect back to the client, to put it back on them, to say like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. How do you want to move forward? That can be incredibly relieving for you, but it can also help them to feel really empowered about the choices and the way that the session will go, and to get them to contemplate like, what is coming up for me right now? And what does feel the most significant for me to reflect on and to bring into today's session? Safety is also, spaciousness is also created through co-regulation. So we spoke about safety in the sense of like you being regulated in the last session, and how important it is for you to be aware of your own triggers and biases and your own, like what's going on in your life, your own capacity for space holding, how your nervous system is. But this also facilitates spaciousness, right? Think about it in the sense of like if you're around someone who's very grounded within themselves and someone whose nervous system feels safe to be around, there is a sense of space that comes with that. It's like a sense of like allowing. This really allowing energy of I am here, I am present, I am grounded, I am safe. And in my safety, it means that you have the space to explore all of who you are, knowing that I won't judge or criticize or rush you in any certain way. So your own nervous system regulation is so, so, so important. And to make sure that you're able to come into every session that you have, feeling empowered, regulated, and grounded within yourself. So what I usually encourage with my students and mentees is that you have a ritual or a routine that you do every time you come into a session that sets you up energetically and from a nervous system perspective to ensure that you can be that vessel, that container that allows the space of whatever's going to come in today to be there in a way that is fueled with that compassionate, non-judgmental lens in it, to allow the other person to feel really acknowledged and accepted in the messiness of their human experience, right? Which is really what compassion is all about. The next thing is using the breath, right? So this kind of ties into nervous system regulation, but creating, just like we want to be safe within ourselves through our own nervous system, one of the most important skills that we can teach our clients is how to regulate their own nervous system. Now, this doesn't mean that we want our clients to be like Zen all the time, or we want them to learn how to always be calm, because that is not a healthy nervous system. A healthy nervous system is one that is adaptable and one that is resilient, right? So this means that it has a healthy response to stressors as they arise. It does what it's supposed to do in order to navigate a person away from the stress or the threat, and then it comes back down to rest and digest and into that regulatory state so that our internal organs and functioning can work properly, we can sleep properly, reproduce properly, etc., right? So we want the body to be operating optimally as much as possible, but also to not negate the importance of a stress response, which is to keep us safe. We just don't want us to be stuck in this hypervigilant state or in a hypovigilant state where we're either fight or flight or we're in complete shutdown, right? We don't want to be in those states all the time because it's detrimental to the way that we think, but it's also detrimental to our physiology, to the way that we actually are operating as humans, and overall our health and our inflammation in our body, and therefore our risk of disease. So teaching our clients nervous system regulation is essentially teaching them what they're learning with you by being in the coaching container. You're the co-regulator in this instance, your nervous system is safe so that they can learn how to have a safe nervous system themselves. Now, in our certification program, all students get access to our most popular nervous system training course, which is called Baseline, to teach you as the space holder how to regulate your nervous system, but also to give you the tools and the skills to teach your clients how to regulate theirs. And in the skills part of our training, you learn a lot of practical ways to guide your clients through nervous system regulation techniques through the lens of polyvagal theory. So one of the things that's really important when we are educating and helping our clients to become, to have a spaciousness for themselves is, do they feel within them that they have spaciousness? And the only time we feel that sense of expansion and inner freedom and inner acceptance and compassion is when our own nervous system feels safe and comfortable enough to navigate the ups and downs of our emotional experiences. So a lot of people fear their emotions, as we've spoken about earlier. A lot of people have shame around their sensitivity, or shame when they cry, or they feel like their emotions are going to take over. But when we can allow an emotion to have its full expression, we realize that all it is a chemical reaction in the body that is responding to something happening around us. And when we can see it for what it is, which is just an emotion, usually tied to that is some kind of message or something that we need to do in order to rectify the situation around us or to help us know how to support ourselves better. So emotions are messengers, and they're really, really important, and they are very normal for humans to experience a whole plethora of emotions, even opposing emotions at the same time, right? This is what it means to be human. But if we resist this or fear this within ourselves, then we don't feel like we have the spaciousness or the safety within our bodies to fully accept our own emotional ups and downs. So a big part of compassionate space holding and trauma-informed care is helping our clients to feel empowered, right? Trauma leads to disempowerment and disconnection and dysregulation, which I like to call the 3 Ds of trauma. And so healing requires empowerment, connection, and regulation. And so it's up to us to not only be that space for them, but to integrate nervous system tools and techniques throughout the sessions that we hold, and also as homework, so that our clients start to trust themselves in their own ability to hold space for themselves, right? A very simple way of doing this is just to help your clients learn how to breathe through difficult and challenging emotions, right? So in the bonus module at the end, the webinar that I ran, I think I actually share 4 or 5 specific techniques that you could integrate into your sessions right away. So you might find that really helpful to watch if this is something that has been of interest to you. So just to recap on what we've spoken about, we had active listening, being okay with silence and pauses, being a co-regulator, so you having a safe and regulated nervous system, and then teaching nervous system regulation and engaging and helping your clients to practice tools and techniques so that they can become a safe space for themselves. I will see you in the next lesson.